You've been in an argument with someone smarter than you. They had all the facts. They spoke confidently. They made you look stupid. And you walked away feeling frustrated because you knew something was off, but you couldn't explain what. Here's the truth. Intelligence doesn't win arguments. Psychology does. There are 4 psychological tactics that let you beat even the smartest person in any argument. These don't rely on being smarter. They rely on understanding how the human brain works. Let me show you. Tactic number 1, control the frame, not the facts. Right now, when you argue, you're trying to win with facts. You think if you have better data, better logic, better evidence, you'll win. You won't. Because arguments aren't won with facts, they're won with frames. A frame is the lens through which people see the discussion. It's the hidden assumption that shapes how every fact is interpreted. Let me show you what I mean. Imagine 2 people arguing about immigration. Person A says, immigrants increase crime rates. Look at these statistics. Person B says, no, immigrants decrease crime rates. Look at these statistics. They could argue about statistics forever. They'll never agree. Why? Because they're operating in different frames. Person A's frame is immigration safe or dangerous? Person B's frame is immigration morally right or wrong? They're not even having the same conversation. Here's the trick. The person who sets the frame wins the argument, regardless of the facts. There's a famous study by psychologists Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman. They asked people to choose between 2 medical treatments. In one version, they said, treatment A saves 200 out of 600 people. In another version, they said, treatment A lets 400 out of 600 people die. Same facts, different frame, and people's choices completely flipped based on how it was framed. When you control the frame, you control what the argument is actually about. And once you control that, the facts become irrelevant. So how do you do this? Before presenting your argument, define what the discussion is really about. Don't say, here's why I'm right. Say, the real question here is, for example, instead of arguing if your idea will work, frame it as, the real question is, can we afford not to try this? Instead of defending your decision, frame it as, the real question is, what's the worst that could happen if we do this versus if we don't? See what's happening. You're not arguing their point. You're changing what the argument is about. The smartest person in the room will have all the facts, but if you control the frame, their facts become answers to the wrong question. Tactic number 2, make them defend, not attack. Here's what happens in most arguments. Someone attacks your position. You defend. They attack more. You defend more. You lose. Why? Because the person attacking controls the conversation. They pick what to talk about. They decide which of your weaknesses to expose. You're just reacting. Here's the trick. Flip it. Make them defend instead. The moment someone attacks your position, don't defend it. Instead, ask them to defend theirs. Let me give you an example. Someone says, your plan won't work because it's too expensive. Don't say, no, it's not that expensive. Let me show you the numbers. Instead, say, interesting. What's your plan? How would you solve this problem with the budget we have? Watch what happens. Suddenly, they're the one defending. They're the one who has to come up with answers. They're the one under pressure. Most people can't do this because criticizing is easy. Creating solutions is hard. There's a psychological principle called cognitive load. When your brain is working hard to defend a position, it can't also attack someone else's position effectively. You've shifted the cognitive load onto them. Here's another example. Someone says, you don't know what you're talking about. Don't defend yourself. Don't list your credentials. Don't explain why you're qualified. Instead, say, you might be right. What am I missing? Explain it to me. 2 things happen. First, if they actually know what they're talking about, they'll explain it and you'll learn something. You haven't lost the argument. You've gained knowledge. Second, if they don't actually know what they're talking about, they'll stumble. They were attacking, not thinking. Now, they have to defend their own understanding. Most of the time, they can't. Either way, you've flipped the dynamic. The smartest person in the room will have great attacks, but if you make them defend, they're just another person struggling to explain themselves. Tactic number 3, agree, then redirect. Here's a mistake you make in every argument. Someone says something you disagree with, and you immediately say, no, you're wrong. The moment you say no, their brain shuts down. They stop listening. They start defending. Now it's a fight, not a conversation. Here's the trick. Never say no. Always start with yes. This is called the yes and technique. You agree with something they said, then redirect the conversation where you want it to go. Let me show you. Someone says, "Your idea is too risky. We could lose everything." No. Don't say, "No, it's not risky. Let me explain why." Instead, say, "You're right, there is risk. And that's exactly why we need a plan to minimize it. What if we tested it on a small scale first?" See what happened? You didn't disagree, you agreed. But you redirected the conversation from "should we do this" to "how should we do this safely?" Then the argument is over. You won. And they don't even realize it because they never felt attacked. There's a study by researchers at Stanford on negotiation tactics. They found that people are 60% more likely to agree with you if you first acknowledge their concern instead of dismissing it. Why? Because humans don't want to be right. They want to be heard. When you say no, you're telling them they're wrong. When you say yes and right, you're telling them they're right, and then you're building onto their idea. Psychologically, they feel like they're winning. In reality, you're steering the conversation exactly where you want it. Here's another example. Someone says, "This will never work in the real world. It's too idealistic." Don't say, "That's not true, it can work." Instead, say, "You're absolutely right that theory and practice are different, and that's why I want to hear your experience. What would make this work in the real world?" Now, they're no longer attacking you, they're helping you. You've turned an opponent into a collaborator. The smartest person in the room will have strong opinions, but if you agree first, they have nothing to fight against. That's that team. Tactic number 4, ask questions, don't make statements. Here's the biggest mistake people make in arguments. They make statements. They tell people what to think. This is the best solution. "You're wrong about this," saying. The data clearly shows. Every time you make a statement, you're giving the other person something to attack. You're putting yourself in a position to defend. Here's the trick. Stop making statements. Start asking questions. Questions are invisible attacks. When you ask the right question, you make the other person realize their position has a flaw without you ever saying it directly. Let me show you. Someone says, "We should cut the budget for this project. It's not generating enough revenue." Don't say, "That's short-sighted. This project will pay off in the long term." Instead, ask, "How are we measuring success? Are we looking at short-term revenue or long-term growth?" You didn't disagree. You didn't argue. You asked a question, and now they have to think. They have to defend their metrics. They have to explain their reasoning. If their reasoning is weak, the question exposes it. If their reasoning is strong, you learn something. Either way, you haven't lost. You haven't even argued. There's a technique used by Socrates called the Socratic method. He never told people they were wrong. He just asked questions until they realized it themselves. That's way more powerful than arguing. Because when people realize something on their own, they believe it. When you tell them, they resist. Here's another example. Someone says, "Your plan is too complicated. We need something simple." Don't say, "It's not complicated. You just don't understand it." Instead, ask, "What part seems complicated? Maybe I can explain it differently." Two things happen. First, they have to actually think about what's complicated. Often they can't pinpoint it. It just feels complicated. And feelings aren't arguments. Second, you've positioned yourself as helpful, not defensive. You're not fighting them. You're trying to help them understand. The smartest person in the room will have all the answers. But if you ask the right questions, their answers start to unravel. Here's the truth. Arguments aren't won by the smartest person. They're won by the person who understands psychology. Intelligence gives you facts. Psychology gives you influence. Right now, you lose arguments because you're trying to be right. But being right doesn't matter if you can't persuade. These 4 tactics don't make you smarter. They make you more effective. Most people will watch this and think, "Interesting," but they won't use it. They'll go into their next argument and do the same thing they always do. Argue facts, get defensive, and lose. But you can do something different.